welcome back to another episode of Biters, the podcast about The Walking Dead and all things zombie. I am your host, Jeff Marsick, and with me on the other side of the Skype line is the man who's got the voice for Skype.
I think we're going to have to restart. I think we're going to restart this.
No, we're going to leave it because this is just classic Wednesday night Biters podcasting.
The classic Wednesday night, too late.
Two knuckleheads podcasting about The Walking Dead. This is our production value. If you're listening to the show, or if you're listening to us, thank you very much for joining us again. This is, we're halfway through Fear the Walking Dead. Halfway, with episode 3. It seems weird to say.
It does. And I had hoped there'd be more meat and potatoes on the table by this point, but maybe that's just me.
But I tell you what, do you see I'm sure you did, the trailers for the upcoming season of The Walking Dead? I mean, that
looks good, man.
Chomping at the bit here to get Walking Dead.
You're having this meal and you're not sure where you're eating, and then you see Walking Dead and you're like, oh, I'm at McDonald's right now. Because that's the meal right there.
That's what I wanted.
That's what I really wanted. That's prime rib over there. I'm having fish stick sandwich here or something. No, it's not. I'm being overly harsh. It's funny though. I have this weird experience. I don't know if you do with this show, with the Fear show. I watch it, and while I'm watching it, I'm really enjoying it. And then it gets over, and I think about it a little bit, and I'm like, oh, that was bad. This was bad. That was bad. This was bad. This was bad. This was horrendous. Oh, my gosh, this is blah, blah, blah. And then a day goes by, and I think about it more, and then it goes, sometimes I do a second viewing, and then I start to put my thoughts together for our show, and I start grooving on it, and I start liking all sorts of aspects of it, and it seems like that's happened to me almost every episode.
Yeah, we call that wishy-washy.
Wishy-washy. I knew there was a good definition for that, but no, I just it's weird. It's like I enjoy it when it's going on. Then I'm like critical of it, and then I find great success in it afterwards. It's weird. What's your experience? You just the same. You watch it, and then however you felt about it is how you felt about it.
I'd go through and I watch it again just because sometimes I'm kind of like, because sometimes it's trying to, how we do the good, the bad, and the ugly, and sometimes I sit there and I just go, I'm really thin on my goods, and I got to go back and I watch it again, and I try to be like you, or like, okay, well, let me look at it with a different set of eyes, and let me just. And no, I see the same things over and and over and over again. So it's, I mean, obviously we're going to talk about it, but my whole thing is that it's just, it's for me, it's an uneven show. I mean, I think that we're 3 episodes in. I think episode 2 is better than episode 1. We talked about that last time. I think 3 it's not really up, but it's not really down. It's just kind of, same level, and it's a show where and look, I do a podcast for Scream on MTV over on Disturbed, the podcast about American Horror Story, also through Southgate Media if you want to download it. plug. And that's a show where I'm really critical of, and I can just tell that as the show goes on, now I'm basically watching it because I've turned it into a drinking game. That's just how it's. I'm not that way with Fear. Fear is I don't dislike it, but it's also not blowing me away. Then I'm just kind of. And which is unfortunate because it would be easy to pin a lot of things on, like, oh, well, the actors just are terrible, right? Or, the cast. It really comes down to the writing. I think the writing is not. I don't think the writing is floating this boat as well as the acting is. I think the acting is there. I think the cinematography is there. I think the directing is there. The writing is not.
It's a little clunky.
Yeah, and
a little inconsistent. Yeah, and there hasn't been a lot of character development. Granted, they're trying to jam it all into 6-ish episodes, so they're trying to get a lot of characters established. They're trying to get a lot of ground covered, and it's not leaving a lot of room for character development. But at the same time, you and I were critical of the first series, the first two and a half seasons, because it was just overburdened with dialogue and overburdened with description and explanation and talking and the character development, needed to be much more subtle and much more done, by watching the characters interact and unfold as opposed to being told. And so maybe it's because they're trying to rush it. I don't know. But there's,
that's actually a good point you bring up, is that with Walking Dead in the first couple of seasons, they were exposition heavy, and it was,
and we hated that.
Yeah.
We hated that.
But they're not doing that here, and I think that maybe the problem here is that there's a lot of things that I've said before, that I'm a fan of when you're writing, when you're telling a story. I'm a fan of giving the reader, or giving the viewer A and B, skipping C, and letting them draw that conclusion, make the logical jump to D. But I just feel like in this, there are points where they give you A and then they give you D, and that logic jump over those 2 points, it's a little hard to make that leap. Look, we've got two things that are really difficult about analyzing this show. Okay, one is that this is a prequel to The Walking Dead. So we know what is out there. We know what happens out there, right?
Absolutely.
So we have this foresight that when we watch the show, we almost have to oh no, we got to turn that switch off, and no, that stuff doesn't happen yet. And then the other thing too is, and this is what trips everybody up all around the internet who complains about this show and stuff, is and you always have to keep it back of your head, is that zombies don't exist in this universe, right? Yeah. And that's something that Kirkman has said. George Romero never made, The Walking, the Living...
Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah. He never made that. There's never been any of this other stuff. And I love reading things on Reddit or some of these websites where really? So there was never a zombie? So there might not have been George Romero, but what about, White Zombie from 1932 with Bela Lugosi?
Right.
Really? I mean, come on, just... it's a universe.
I agree with you. I think it's a good point, and it is hard sometimes to separate, especially the first point there, where we bring to it, and I think some of our listeners made comment to this in their comments too, is that we bring to it the knowledge of what they should and shouldn't be doing, behavior wise, but they don't have that, and so we have to kind of separate our frustration with the show. Is this frustration with the show, or is this just frustration with the characters because we know stuff that they don't know?
Right. But I also think that there's the first 3 episodes so far, and I think that I think that handicap would really apply for I don't know, some place out here in Connecticut, or some place in Rhode Island or New Hampshire. But when you're in Los Angeles, where there are riots. I mean, they riot when the Lakers win the championship. They riot when the Lakers lose the championship. There's a riot for everything. There may not be zombies, but there is probably terrorism, right? There's probably so there's all these other things that happen that can instill fear in people and cause this confusion and make them act certain ways. So, for instance, like in the house, when they're in the house and playing Monopoly, instead of stocking up on stores and getting your gear, they're heading to the desert. Instead of planning for that stuff, let's play a game of Monopoly and let's just kind of slow things down. On the one hand, you might look at that and go, well, that's what they would do if they didn't know zombies existed. But my counter to that is, but they live in the real world where, terrorism happened and 9/11 happened and all this other stuff did happen. Life happened. So you would be kind of...
Yeah, I think that the case could be made, though, that as the apocalypse is starting to unfold, we know, and this is the other part of that argument, we know the apocalypse this is the start. This is how the apocalypse starts. This is how all of the world and society crumbles and falls apart. They don't realize that. This is 9/11 was a horrible, horrible thing and shocking and put everybody on edge and everything else. But there was this sense that we would get through this, that, we'll respond, we'll, put things right, we'll get, New York back together, all that kind of stuff. So people in this chaos of this, what's happening, could be thinking, well, yeah, this is a really bad, this is a tsunami level of shit.
Right.
But we're going to be okay. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we don't need to panic and start, freaking out. Let's just stay calm and try to get through this evening, and maybe there'll be some relief tomorrow. You know what I mean? I could see that kind of mentality, because they don't know they're not preppers.
I was just going to say,
like me.
Doomsday Preppers apparently doesn't exist on cable in this universe.
But so anyway, but it's interesting because for me, the test is, I look forward to seeing it. I get excited to watch it when it comes on. I'm intensely stuck to it as I'm watching it. And, even though I've got criticism of it, it's very much a show I'm bonded to, and I want to watch every week. So to me, that says that it's doing a lot right, no matter how critical we sometimes are of it.
Yeah. And that's, like I said, it's,
I just be a zombie addict.
That's probably more that than anything else. No, and that's the thing, is that it's not. There are shows that I've watched 1, 2, 3 episodes and gone,
yeah,
I'm done. I just can't suffer through it. Even Scream it's more entertaining in its silliness now. It's gone so overboard that I'm like, I just got to see how this plays out now, but with this one, I'm curious. I want to see how this ends and where this goes. And it hasn't annoyed me to the point where I've got to get off the ride. So, and there's 3 more episodes to go, so it's not much more invested. Hey, just as an aside, have you ever seen on USA? Have you ever seen Mr. Robot?
No, but I have heard nothing but good things about it.
Holy crap! I had forgotten that this thing was on USA, and my friend Scott Malkus, who does the Disturbed podcast with me, he's
plug.
He asked me if I had seen it. I said no, and I watched it last weekend at the when I was up at the New Hampshire for a comic book convention, and it's one of those shows. I was 5 minutes in. I'm texting him going, "That's it, hooked." Like 5 minutes, that was it. It's awesome. So anybody listening, if you can, watch
I've heard
Mr.
nothing
Robot.
but good things about it. I definitely want to check it out.
Fantastic show.
Hey, I wanted to send a big shout out and a thank you to our friends over at the Walking Naked podcast, Justin and Kelly. They had me on last week to talk about, I think it was last week, about Fear the Walking Dead episode 2. Had a blast. We talked about comics. We talked about Walker Stalker Con and my art tributes, and we talked about Z-Girl a lot. And they're just really supportive and great guys. They do a great podcast. If you're not listeners, you should be out there, guys, listening to us now. Check them out, Walking Naked podcast. Also, thanks to one of their listeners, listener Jack Stick, who is at JackStick22, who, after listening, went out and picked up all of the Z-Girl books.
Woohoo!
Woo, baby, and said that he's loving them. And then when he posted that, a follower of ours, Diane, who's at DSVLDOM, I don't know, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce that, but Diane also went out and picked up all the Z-Girl issues. So we thank you guys for the support. We hope you're liking the book. We hope everybody will check out Z, and we're working hard on the 6th issue right now, and should have that at New York Comic Con in October. So definitely check it out. And again, thanks to Justin and Kelly over at the Walking Naked, who we're going to have on our show coming up here, hopefully during the Fear. Hopefully maybe next week or the week after. We'll have to talk about when we want to do that.
All right. Let's see the numbers for last week. So I posted these numbers on the Facebook page, and it got some funny reactions to them. So first of all, okay, so this was the week that the NFL came back, and Sunday Night Football, and it was a good game. It was Cowboys versus the Giants.
Go
For Kirk,
Giants.
for Kirk, I'm basically speaking a foreign language here, but uh, so Entertainment Weekly put out this piece that the title of the piece was "Fear the Walking Dead ratings slip again," and a couple other places had sites had put similar kind of fear mongering, I guess, headlines. And anyway, so it says that Sunday night's Fear the Walking Dead delivered 7.2 million viewers and 4.6 million in the coveted 18 to 49 group, which is down 12% from episode 2, and which was down, episode 2 was down 19% from its premiere. But it was up against Sunday Night Football. This was a Jewish holiday weekend, basically a 3-day weekend. So, so some of these sites out there, you can tell that they're just kind of like, like foaming at the mouth, like, oh my gosh, like, could this be the failure of? And I don't think so. But I just had to laugh at Tom DeRosa when I put this on the Facebook page. Tom DeRosa's reaction. It's like he took it seriously. He's like, yeah, we watched him sit and play a game of Monopoly. That happened. We also watched him drive by a hospital surrounded by a police shooting in at the dead coming out. That happened too. So sit down and shut up. This show is killing it. Nice to see the military showed up at the end there to save the day. So, but
go get him, Tom.
Yeah, like ferocious.
I love the way that catch though. That catch by him of them shooting in as the dead were coming out.
Yeah,
and it's both the idea of you go into a hospital to get help and the dead are coming out, but also from the pilot with the doors in the hospital that say don't open, dead inside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is how the dead ended up inside.
Yeah.
But no, it was a good catch by him.
All right.
We had a couple tweets of the week. I don't know if we are going to put in the intro or not. Maybe I should do a new intro for that. There are just a couple kind of cute ones. At Shane Walshy said, Alicia and Nick better never, ever, never be separated. I need their relationship to breathe. I mean, wow. Okay. And then we got TWD _ daily 66. Where is Tobias?
Yeah.
I'm in agreement on that. I'd like to see him come back.
You mean Mini Eugene?
Yeah. At Fidget TBC wrote, he doesn't need his mom. He doesn't need the meds. He needs a damn shower. Talking about Nick.
Yeah.
And let's see. At HC Noel wrote, Alicia is so over the zombie apocalypse. And Devin Peacock wrote, I guess it's a good thing I didn't move to LA. So those were the tweets I caught that struck me as kind of cute and funny. All right, so what's your goods? Well, wait a minute. How many? What are we doing? Are we doing headshots for?
We were doing headshots, but it's funny because
somebody came up with
Christine had. Was it Christine who wrote in and she gave it wide open doors?
Wide open doors. That's excellent. There was one a couple weeks back. Somebody put up getting run over by a white truck or something, or the how many white trucks or something, beat up old white trucks. Some funny stuff. But I don't know. We gotta maybe I
don't know, shotgun blast to the face.
Yeah, zombie face shots.
Well, whatever it is, I'm going. What do we do it out of? We do it out of 4.
I think we do it out of 5.
Or out of 5. So I'm basically going right in the middle. I'm going 2.5.
Yeah, I'm doing 3. Not. I think last week was my favorite so far.
So far, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I only had a couple goods for the week. I like that I like that Travis is kind of, when it came to the point where when Maddie's out with a hammer and she's gonna basically club Susan, the neighbor, in the head, and she kind of has this moment.
Go all Tyrese on him.
Yeah,
on her.
And Travis comes out, and I like
that had to be a wink of the head to that, right? I mean, a wink of the head, a tip
wink
of
of
the
the head.
hat, a wink of the eye, whatever, right? I mean, that had to be I mean, she could have used anything, but she had the ball peen hammer
Yeah.
like Tyrese.
I like that he. I like that he came up to her. For some reason, when I was writing my goods, this is out of it's out of order in the episode. But for some reason, this was the first thing that came to me was that he came up to her and he stopped her from doing it, even though despite all the bizarre stuff that he's seen so far, like he still is like, we don't know what's going on with these people. We shouldn't just be killing them willy nilly. We need to know what's going on first. So him being the voice of reason, and it's like it's funny because when you watch a show, do you try to do the same thing where you kind of try to figure out who lines up with a character from The Walking Dead?
Yeah,
or is that just me?
A little bit. No, a little bit. Bit.
So him being the voice of reason, he's kind of he's kind of Herschelish right now, and even though he's seen some really bizarre stuff, he's still. I loved his reaction when Ruben Blades Daniel shoots the neighbor shoots Patrick in the head, when they're in the house.
Right.
And what I'm looking for, and I've talked about this in two podcasts so far, is I'm looking for just reactions from people. You can sell me on this show if the actors or the writing, if the actors act the way a person would in a scene like that, right? Mm-hmm. And I always come back to the scene in Alien when the movie Alien, when they're at the lunch or the meal, whatever, and they're sitting there, and Ash, not Ash, one of the characters, he just came out of the infirmary, right? And then all of a sudden he starts going into the seizure, and he's laying on the table, and everybody's like, what's going on, what's going on? And one of my favorite stories is that the actress, not Sigourney Weaver, but the other actress in that scene, when they're holding the guy down, and all of a sudden this thing starts, they're holding him down, and he's writhing around, blah, blah. Well, Cameron, the director, didn't tell the actors what was going to happen. And the girl, you can see it in the movie, the woman, when the chest burster comes out, she looks off camera for a second. It's a real quick look like, what the F just happened here? And she's like completely wigged out of it. That's the reaction I'm kind of looking for. I'm looking for like something natural. When Daniel shoots Patrick in the head, well, twice, and then he's kind of like, Daniel's like clearly an old hat at this, and people have said I've seen on the internet that it's probably some of the things that have been said between he and his wife allude to they're probably survivors of the Salvadoran Civil War, so they've seen violence, and he's probably used a gun before. Blah, blah.
Well, they both say they've seen worse than this.
The look on Travis's face, like. The kid Chris, he runs outside to go throw up, but the look on Travis' face is just standing there, and he's just flat, like, what the hell just happened here?
Right.
It was awesome. So there's times when Travis, and I really like that actor, Cliff Curtis, but there's times in this episode when I was just like, man, I love what he does.
Right.
I like at the end the National Guard appearing. That adds a whole new layer of complexity to this to the show, and I think I really do think that it came at a perfect time. If we went one more episode with all this bizarre stuff going on, and especially what we heard on the radio, I don't know if you caught it when they were going by the hospital on the radio. They say that governors in 11 states have declared states of emergency. If that's going on, and all this kerfluffle is going on in Los Angeles, it stands to reason that the military is coming in. So I really like that they came in. I like the spray painting of the house. When they were driving out and you see them like spray painting the house, which is just never a good sign.
No. Well, and Daniel looks out the window and it's like, it's too late.
It's already too late.
Too late.
And that was a great line to end the show on. So
yeah, well, he had some of the best lines in the show, even though they were just a few.
Well, Ruben Blades, I mean, if you've seen him in a bunch of movies that he's done, he's awesome. He's such a great actor. So that was it. That's all I had for goods.
That's all you had for goods?
That was it.
Oh my gosh, I had quite a few. Let's see. I did not like the fact that they were playing Monopoly in the apocalypse,
Mm-hmm.
but there was some interesting and good dialogue and stuff going on there. I thought that there was some more reveals about the father, which was cool to get.
Yeah, that's true. I
Um,
like that part. Yeah.
yeah, we learned that that he's dead. We learned that
Hold on.
he like
Let me interrupt you real quick. So
sure
again, going back to what we said at the beginning about how exposition heavy Walking Dead in the first couple seasons, and then they really trimmed it back, and how even for this show, you're trying to claw for altitude, you're trying to get some momentum here, and they still don't rely on that. Even though we'll agree that the writing is uneven and it's kind of clunky in places, they're still not relying on that stuff. That one line in the playing Monopoly when they're just sitting there and they get quiet for
right.
a second, and Alicia goes, "I feel like this is deja vu." Dude, I got it, and I think anybody else watching it got it. Okay, you know. Although I was thinking that I didn't. I think it reveals later on that the father, yeah, Madison, I think says later on that he died of a heart attack. I thought he was a philanderer. I immediately went there.
I
You
didn't
know.
hear projection, perhaps.
Well, you know what? I'm a little bitter that my Ashley Madison account's been hacked. So
um, I didn't catch I didn't catch that about that, but I didn't catch there was another one where I read somewhere someone said that it was established or stated somewhere that Madison's mother was an alcoholic. I
Oh,
went
I
back
didn't
and
see that one.
rewatched. I went back and rewatched all, and I did not see that at anywhere. But but I'll come back to that because I thought there's an interesting thing there. But so we get the reveal that the father's dead. We get the reveal that he liked the shoe piece
Hmm.
in the Monopoly, and that's the piece that Nick wants to be now. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and that then Alicia's the car. I don't know if there's any significance to her being the car, but um, when she says, as you mentioned, she says, "I'm having deja vu." Obviously they're talking about sitting at home waiting for the father to come home from some sort of binge or addiction
Okay.
issue or
Okay.
something,
So
right?
I
Is that
looked.
what you got?
Well, yeah, yeah. And so
Okay.
I went a little Kirk Manley here in this scene because I went deeper, looking for the deeper juxtaposition of.
Let me tell you, don't get lost down there because it's bad down there in the deep end.
So on the surface, so what were the pieces that they picked? Maddie picked the top hat. Alicia took the car, and
Top hat, that's the boss,
right. So she's the head honcho,
right?
which they've been kind of banging that one over the head for 3 episodes, which is all right. Alicia is the car, so she's probably the one that when the going gets tough or in a situation, she's the one who runs.
Ah,
Okay, so
okay.
she's
Although that's not what happens in the show. Things get tough. They lose the shells. She goes back against the wishes of the others to risk her life to get the shells.
That's a good point. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
So I don't know. The car
Okay,
is adventurous. The car is survival.
okay,
Maybe escape.
okay, and then well, so this was my initial
Right.
read on the pieces was the top hat was the boss, the car was the one she's the speed, she's going to put distance
Right.
between her and a bad situation, and the other one with the shoe was clearly shoe, you think runner or whatever, but I took that as he's the one who thinks on his feet. He's the one who's Nick. Nick's
Okay.
gonna be the one
Yeah.
who thinks because he's street savvy and he knows that and he's shown it a couple times in this episode, right? Like Susan next door, he goes, "She's dead," right?
Right.
He's the one who
Right.
called it. Okay, so
Shoe's also a heel, though, and sometimes he can be a heel.
okay, all right. Okay, so somebody else, so somebody out there, I can't remember where I got this, but somebody apparently did some
Somebody was
research.
swimming deeper than us.
Yeah, somebody went out and they looked at they apparently found the psychology of Monopoly or whatever. So the top hat is, as we said, a symbol of power and status. Hat players tend to be introverted in real life, but the game is a great escape for them where they can be a little more dominating than in real life. These players don't mind drawing attention to themselves or being controversial in the game and play very strategically. Okay.
Well, it's interesting because she says she's very aggressive in the game, and she says, "Come on, guys, I'm busting your asses, I'm kicking your butts." You know what I mean? She's like very assertive and aggressive in the game. Seemed like.
Okay.
Okay, that's cool.
So then the shoe, around since the beginning, the shoe is modeled after the practical work shoe of the 30s. Instead of changing its design with the times, the shoes remain the same and is a symbol of both hard work and the riches that can come along with it. So basically, that's saying street smart, practical, sensical. And then the car is people who choose it tend to be outgoing, friendly, versatile, and adaptable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
read into it what you read. That was the psychology part.
That silence was us drowning in the deep end. No, I totally agree. I think listen. I come from the school of thought that like, if they're going to take the time to have a scene where they're going to have them play Monopoly and pick out different things, then they're doing that. They're conscious about what they're saying. The writers,
right? Yeah.
They're trying to communicate something. So, I dig that in a show. I dig that when that happens. I thought another good was the escape from the barbershop. The zombie looking through the window at Chris, that was freaky.
That was freaky.
I loved the fact that the chaos and the looters and everything were mixed in with zombies. So you had these people that were rioting who didn't even realize that within their rioting groups were zombies who were munching on people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like that was terrifying. I thought that was really cool. The shotgun kill was obviously the shotgun zombie kill was fantastic. I agree with you. I think the Daniel Salazar character he's awesome. I love the scene where he's teaching Chris to use the gun. It's awesome he's awesome in the sense that the actor is fantastic and the character is riveting. As a character, he makes me edgy. You know what I mean? He's not, I don't see him as a good person. You know what I mean? He's no Morgan. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I even suspect that he, especially with the caliber of actor, he's going to have a very significant role. And my guess is it's going to be dark. My guess, because, he says about them, they're weak. When he sees him, get hurt, Madison to turn away, sees Travis convince Madison to turn away from killing the zombie. He says to the daughter, we're not going to go with them. And she says, well, they're good people. And he says, the good people are the first ones to die, which was also something that Morgan says to Rick in Clear. He actually says the good people die, and then the bad people die too. But the first part of the sentence, it just seems like it was kind of echoing that stance of the good die, and he's just seems like he's not going to be ultimately a good guy. Plus all of his dark background, his family's all dead in Colombia, yet he said he's calling his cousin. There's a lot of weirdness going on with he just seems like he's kind of out for himself and out for his own. And he doesn't really care about anybody else at this point. They're only important to him because they're providing shelter and stuff like that. I could see him becoming this show's governor.
Really?
Yeah, like he could set up some sort of a scenario where he's kind of running some area or something and has a way of doing things, and the rest of our cast is a different camp or something. I don't know. I think something that caught me this episode that for some reason didn't was in previous episodes was the names of the Salazars, especially the two daughters. Not the two daughters, the daughter and the mother. Griselda. Remember reading somewhere that there's a character in the main show. Was a character, or there was somebody named Griselda in the first show. I forgot.
Fear or Walking Dead?
No, I'm sorry. In the main show, in Walking Dead. And I can't remember if it's a character or if it's like something that, like a doll that one of the kids carries in the beginning, or I know somebody's mentioned it online and I can't remember. I forgot to look it up. But so that was kind of interesting. But also Griselda, the origin of that name it's German, and it means patient wife. So, I guess that they're just, maybe it's just a comment on how, she's definitely seems extremely loyal to Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
She just backs him 100%. And then Ophelia, which is, a very unique name for somebody. And of course is from Hamlet. And in Ophelia, I wonder if her name is somehow foreshadowing of her, because Ophelia in Hamlet has a very wild kind of story arc. She's like, I think she's in love with Hamlet, and then she's forbidden to marry him, or he breaks her heart, I think, when he finds out that her father is, kind of conspiring against Hamlet and uses her as a means to spy on him. And then when he finds that out, he says he'll never marry her or whatever, and it breaks her heart. And then eventually Hamlet ends up killing her father. And then she kind of goes nuts, and then she falls into a river standing on a branch on a tree and drowns in the water. And there's a very famous painting.
God, this sounds Shakespearean.
Yeah, well, it is Shakespearean. But the question is that could just be they're just throwing it in there. But I'm wondering if she's going to have if there's someone, I wonder who Hamlet is going to be in this show to her Ophelia. That's my question. Is she going to fall for somebody who is going to break her heart, and then she's going to, somebody who has to end up taking out her father, and then that's going to put her against them and make her crazy and everything. I don't know. I wonder if they'll follow the Ophelia from Hamlet. Anyway.
Hey, hold on. I just looked up the Griselda. It's the episode. Oh, I don't know the name of the episode. It's the one with. Is it the one with the flowers? It's Lizzie and Mika.
Yes. She names the zombie that, right?
Well, she names it says in here
the one she's playing with.
Mika finds a doll that looks strangely similar to a Cabbage Patch Kid, and she announces to everyone that she's going to name it Griselda Gunderson.
Oh, that's right.
So,
so I thought that could be just a tip of the hat to the original show. I loved a lot of the horror.
Oh, you're right. Wait. No, I'm sorry. Lizzie did name the walker Griselda in The Grove.
Right.
I just thought those were odd names but it's my own ignorance about someone from El Salvador, but I just didn't seem very
Yeah, they didn't seem like
very Hispanic names.
No, but I looked, like I said, Ophelia is not Ophelia, Griselda. What's it called? Griselda. Griselda is actually originally German.
Yeah.
But it says that it's been picked up and is now big in English as well as in Spanish language. The horror tropes I thought were great. The old lady's feet under the door.
Yep.
When she sees the medication bottle, the noises in the dark house. There were a lot of good, traditional chill, get you, looking out the window, you hear the noises outside, the dog at the door, freaky stuff. Madison's even more on board, it seems, with the whole kill or be killed by the zombies. She seems to kind of completely now see how dark this is. Travis is he's still in denial. And, that's an interesting dynamic between the two of them. Because, Madison, I thought also seeing Madison drinking in the kitchen by herself, that was very alcoholic-like.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden she's under stress. So she starts drinking by herself, and so again, this whole question of where did Nick get this substance abuse quality to his personality? Did it come from his father, or, who he wants to be like since he takes the shoe in the Monopoly game, or was it because his mother passed it on to him? So it still has to be explained, I guess. Let's see. I thought that the kill me conversation with Liza was really interesting too, and I thought well done. I liked that. The only thing it's almost like she realizes or recognizes. I don't want to say how weak Travis is, but just how Travis is not going to be able to accept the new paradigm, the new reality, and he's just like Daniel says, he's too weak, and. So, but I think that's foreshadowing, not of Madison's death, but of Liza's death. And I'm going to make my first Fear the Walking Dead prediction. the first of many to be wrong, I'm
I
sure.
was gonna say if it's like any of the other ones you've made, we know
No,
how this is
none
gonna
of the other
end.
ones. They're fun. It's fun to do, even if they don't turn out right. Um, I'm predicting that Madison is going to have to kill Liza,
Okay.
and she'll be a zombie, and Travis won't be able to do it. So she's asking her to kill her. She ever become like that? But that's what's going to end up happening. Madison's going to end up having to kill her because Travis won't be able to do it. I don't know.
I should have added to my good Elizabeth Rodriguez, the actress playing Liza. I thought she was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I thought she was great
If
too.
anybody watches Orange is the New Black, she's been awesome on
She's
that
on
show.
that too.
What's that? Yeah,
She's
yeah,
on that. I didn't know that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But and in fact, she's the only one who really reacts when they go past the hospital, and like everybody's kind of like, they drive past the hospital. No one really does anything or says anything. Liza's the only one who looks out, and she actually reacts, kind of like, "What the hell's going on here?" So I thought adding her to the cast again, all the actors that they have in this cast, they're all strong, and everybody's great, and I think she is too.
I thought the dog being the name of the episode was kind of interesting. It wasn't clear to me that the dog that they lit in was their dog or just a dog, or like maybe a neighborhood dog that they knew.
I thought it was a dog. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think it was their dog. And I think the dog is also a callback to the story about nature versus man
in the first
that Travis in the first episode is talking about it, because I think it's a dog that is in the story or whatever. So certainly the zombies are, the metaphor there is that they're nature and they're winning, I guess, and killing the dog. But it was also interesting because Madison tells Nick that after the meds run out, he goes, "Well, what are we going to do after the meds run out?" And then she's like, "Well, then you howl at the moon," which is a very dog-like, wolf-like reference. So I'm thinking, especially since Nick is the one who steps up at the very end and says, "They're not sick, they're dead," which you mentioned already. And that reference to me, he's the dog. You know what I mean? He's man. He's survival. He's the one fighting nature, the zombies. And this is that the dog title is really about is in reference to Nick. It's probably in reference to all that stuff, but I think that it also ties him into that. I like that there's something cooking between Chris and Alicia. He ran to her aid awful quick, huh? And then she punched him in the nose.
Yeah.
Just like a girl when you show you tell you like her, right? Remember in grade
school?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Come over and hit you. Why'd you do that? Oh, I like you.
Yep.
Also the airplane. We get another airplane scene.
And everybody around the internet's been wondering is that the link to the airplane spinoff.
And they've done it twice now. They had last week, it was, or the second episode, it was Nick who looks up, I think, and sees the plane going across the sky, and they hold the camera there. And then this time, I think it was, I'm not sure who it was. I'm not sure who it was this one, but it was an even longer look. Was it Nick also? I'm not sure. And then also Susan's husband, when he comes home, he's yelling out to her that the airport is closed. My guess is that they're going to end up going to the airport. To either they'll hook up with somebody who's a pilot or something, and they'll say, well, let's try to get out of here. And they'll be like, "Oh, I got a plane, this and that," and they go there because at some point the crash plane zombie plane story has to have a character in it that hooks up with the main cast of this show. That's the whole hook of that zombies in the plane thing. That's going to take place during the breaks in the regular show, and then the second season of Fear, they're going to have a main character from that plane that's going to be in the Fear characters. So I'm guessing they're going to end up at the.
I don't know if they would necessarily
airport.
link a character that way, like do that, or if it could just be you're in the airplane and you look down, and you see Los Angeles in a riot, or you just see, a situation unfolding. It's the view from the airplane. You could be right. Well,
they've said it. They said that
there was going to be a character linking.
Yeah, be a character from that story that will become a regular member of the cast for Fear the Walking Dead.
Oh. Okay.
So I'm guessing they'll have to. I mean, I'm going to guess they're going to meet that person at the airport, but maybe not. Maybe after the crash, that person makes their way somewhere else and meets up with them. I loved Nick. We've already talked about, but I loved Nick telling Alicia the truth. Her flipping out about the boyfriend, kind of the realization. I mean, I didn't get the whole thing about why Madison wasn't, continually. I mean, in some respects, she seems like she's being hard on Travis because she's like, oh, he's in denial. But at the same time, she won't tell her daughter the truth,
Right.
potentially saving her life because she's hoping that this thing will all blow over and she won't have to ever hear, like she wouldn't find out from anybody else.
Right.
But I just think that I just think Alicia and Nick are great together. I think they're going to be a strong character relationship. I thought it was a funny line when Travis says to his ex-wife, "I'm so relieved now having two wives in the house."
Yeah, that was funny.
That was great. That was a good line. So those were my goods.
So my bads. Okay, so I had a hard time. I just had a hard time with the filming of the riot scene because looking around it, I agree with you that having the zombies in their midst and they had no idea that was going on. The regular people. That's my phone.
Well, thank goodness it's not me this time.
Yeah. uh, they just look more like partiers at a rave than an actual mob, trying to, and I mean, for all of the tension that's built up about you getting out of the barber shop and, getting out of there and, as soon as they open the doors up, rioters come running in and they go out. It was the easiest escape like you've ever seen. And, so
nobody seemed to pay them any mind as they ran through the crowd.
And for all of there wasn't any tear gas laid down, for all the trucks and everything getting flipped over, Travis's was just mint condition.
Yeah, I agree. That was a little hard to swallow.
So as much as I wanted to be like, I wanted the intensity of that scene, I was like, oh, really? You could have, made it a little more. I think the whole thing about Griselda's injury, I think it's a red herring. I think the whole thing is they put so much emphasis on the camera shows how bad the thing is to her leg, and I think they're really trying to force it like, oh, she's gonna turn, like that's gonna be the one that turns.
Then Liza says, her leg's gonna become infected, then that's gonna spread to her organs, and then she's gonna die.
Right.
I mean, they literally just stated it.
Yeah. I think it's a red herring. I don't think it's going to go that way. I had a problem with them driving down the road again. The whole thing about they're just such great actors, and yet they just seem so restrained, or I don't know, maybe they're working against a green screen and they just can't see things. But when you're driving along and you look over and you see this massive sprawl that is Los Angeles blink out by section, you don't just sit there and look at it and go, huh, that's odd. You kind of go, what the F is that?
Right.
And nobody had the reaction. Chris, who, I don't care about Chris at all. Like, Chris could, not show up. I care more about the fact that Tobias wasn't on the show, on this episode, than Chris was actually on it. Chris is the only one who's like, Dad, and that was it,
Right.
And then Travis, Cliff Curtis looks back to the front. He's just got this look on his face like, did I leave the iron on at home? I don't remember. So I had a big problem. I want more. And I think that's, for me, that's what lends the horror to this thing, is like people freaking out like, oh my God, like, did you just, what's going on here? And just that sense of urgency. When they get to the house and Travis sees there is a guy in the house. It's not a guy. It turns out to be your neighbor from across the street or next door or wherever. And he's going, he's going to town. He's eating a dog, right? Now, that alone is weird, but in addition to all the other stuff that you've seen at the church, your quote unquote stepson, running over a guy twice, launching him, 50 yards away, and the guy's still alive. Like, all this weird stuff that you see, I don't buy that Travis is going to go up and go, Pat, are you okay? Hey,
Right.
hey, man, are you okay? Like, no, you're going to get everybody out and start swinging a chair leg. So I didn't buy it. And I think that when you don't, for me, it's a problem watching shows like this or movies when you don't give a person a natural reaction, how they should react or how you think they should react, or even be in that ballpark, that it really just takes you out of that moment. And then he goes.
I think they're trying to write him as this optimistic, positive guy who is unwilling to give in to the sense that things are hopeless and the dead are walking, and he's just too. That would just break him, like she says, when she says to Liza in the kitchen, and I can see what they're trying to do there, but I agree with you. To me, it's too hard to believe. Even the most optimistic person, after watching that guy get run over 3 times and shot,
Right.
Would and get up and still be coming at you. Then yeah, this is not sickness. This is something else.
Right. All right, let's see. What else do I got? Alicia, I find oddly unreactive to just everything that's going on. Now, she had no friends and all she had was her boyfriend and that was it. But there's not like I've got to call Susie or Bambi and find out what's going on. Like, there's nothing like, where are my friends? No one's.
Susie or Bambi. Bambi.
Well,
you're absolutely. That's an excellent point, because she's a teenager, and I see it with my own early, teen daughter, that her friends' opinions and her friends' input is just as important as any other input she's getting during the day.
Yeah.
It's always the first thing she does is talk to them. So agree.
The whole Monopoly scene where he talked about it, but basically my whole thing again, this goes back to the unevenness of the writing, which is there's this haste, there's this urgency. Oh, Travis has to get back here so we can get to the desert, because when we get to the desert's gonna be safe. Okay, great. You're gonna go to, I'm gonna put quotes around it, the desert. And you're not packing water, food. Last episode, you were helping Tobias raid the food stores at the school.
Right.
You're not packing any of that stuff up. So as soon as Travis gets home, we're in the truck and we are outie. No, who's buying Park Place? You got Boardwalk? I mean, what's going on? Okay, yeah. So, and then the other uneven part, and I kind of backtrack about this because I kind of get it, but at the same time I don't get it, is, so we've got apparently we've got a dead woman out back. Whether she's dead or she's just really sick, whatever. We've got my neighbor who used to babysit my kids, she's looking really weird, and she's been banging against the fence, for like a couple days now. There was
Sounds
a funny
like a comedy.
Yeah, well, there is that funny scene when Travis goes walking by and he's like, "Morning, Susan." That was kind of funny.
That's pretty good.
But so that's going on out back. There's riots downtown. You've got a power grid that's been blanking out. 11 states declaring states of emergency. Oh, and by the way, no one thought to turn on the TV, listen to the radio, or anything to see what else is going on. But we'll let that go. But all this stuff goes on, and Travis is still taking the trash out to the curb.
Yeah, what was up with that? And even one of his neighbors was too.
One of his neighbors was too. Now I backtrack on this because I was like, okay, look, in times of stress and really weird stuff, I get that people go, they're gonna revert back to the normal things, right? Just kind of like, I'm gonna do what I normally do on a Tuesday, which is take the trash out, because then if I see the trash guy comes up, then the world is normal. So okay, I think maybe that's what they were going for.
And that's what they were trying to do.
But it was still, when I saw it for the first time, it was still,
swallow.
Yeah, it was comical.
Well, the one thing, then the main thing you missed is there's his neighbor's body in his living room with no head on it, because he was trying to attack them and eat them.
Right. And so okay, so all right, so let's talk about this. So you come to your house.
Guy's not coming.
your neighbor, you just caught your neighbor eating a dog, which is
right.
A, weird. B, it attacks you. C, you just blew its head off. Well, not you, but you were there.
Right.
Do you call the cops? what do you do? I don't think I'd bury it in the backyard.
Buries the body in the backyard, but then takes the trash out.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's like if you're burying dead bodies in the backyard, forget the trash.
I guess
I would have laughed if he wheeled the trash bucket out there and the zombie's legs were sticking up out of the trash. And he just said, "Fuck it, let's put him in the trash."
that would have just been that would have just been like overkill.
That'd have been awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so I talked about that. Hold on a second.
No problem.
I was never concerned about them getting reunited. I don't know if there was. I know there were people on the internet that were like, "Oh my god, I didn't know if they were gonna." Really, I kind of knew they were going to get reunited no matter what. Again, that whole sense of urgency wasn't there. Plus, the fact if you want to ratchet up that tension, there was no traffic on the road. Your neighborhood, my neighborhood. You try getting to your house on like 4th of July weekend, right?
Right,
I mean, which is basically the same. You can't
there's a
move.
softball game on a Sunday. I can't get down my road.
Exactly. No traffic, nothing else going on. So there was never any real anything real concern about that going on. I didn't buy that Madison. I'm not going to talk about this because I have a theory. My theory's coming up, and I'm going to rope that into it. The only other thing is I just have a couple things that were just a little inconsistent to me. One is if Alicia goes over to the other person's house, goes over to the neighbor's house, who was a babysitter, a beloved neighbor, somebody that they really cared about, and she gets caught, or she's getting the shotgun shells, and she looks over and she sees a pair of legs under the door. Why would she run? Like, if anything, I was expecting her to go, "Susan, are you okay?" And like go to that. I was expecting her to confront danger right there.
Yeah, especially since she's the only one that hasn't been briefed.
Exactly.
She's the one that doesn't understand. I mean, it doesn't make sense for Travis to go, "Oh, dude, you're sick. Let me try and help you," after all he's seen. But it does make sense that she would do that, and she does the opposite. But she's the car, man.
Yeah, whatever that means. And then the other thing too is okay. And then kind of piggybacking on that, if you come home, and your wife.
There was a bottle of drugs, right? There was an empty bottle of drugs on the table, so maybe she kind of put two and two together that she OD'd or something. I don't know.
If you come home and your wife is looking like Susan was looking,
are
you gonna?
No hugs.
No. You're like, you got the
Purell.
plague.
Lots of Purell. Handy wipes.
Kurt just starts spraying himself with Purell.
Shower.
Yeah. So I didn't buy that at all.
Maybe some bleach.
The husband walking over, "Honey, oh, you look." No, I'm not buying it. And I'm just sorry, but I get that it's possible that I don't know if Nick has lived at that house for a while, like as established in that first episode. But dude, can he not look like Kramer from Seinfeld with them clothes, or like he raided Archie Bunker's closet? Like, go take a shower, go get new clothes on, So
I wish that Susan had taken a huge chunk out of her husband's neck, and then they shot her. You know what I mean? And then they had to shoot him.
Yeah,
that would have been cool. Like, they come up, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, are you okay? Are you okay?" And the army guy walks over and pops him right in the head, and everybody be like, "Whoa, whose side are you on? What are you doing?"
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think there should have been more, and they do it a lot in these shows where you make the military look menacing and like they're almost like they're the bad guys, and that should have been, as much as I applaud that we've ratcheted it up, we've brought it to a new level by bringing them in. I think there should have been more. There should have been more confusion about, like, wait, whose side are you guys on? And then all of a sudden it's like, well, we don't know. Should we trust the military? And I think they could have played that up a little bit better. Okay, so my last point, and it ties into my prediction here. This is going to be off the wall, I think. Madison and Liza. First of all, I don't understand why she would say to Liza, basically, like, if I get infected, put me down, because it would break Travis to do it. Okay. It was weird to me because she hasn't seen enough. I mean, this is that whole disconnect between us, the viewer, knowing what we know, and them, the characters in this show, not knowing what we know. So it seemed to me odd that Madison would be making that connection. So here's my guess. Did she get bit by Calvin in episode 1? And here's my reasoning. She's wearing long sleeves this entire time, so her arms are covered up, so we can't tell. You look at her daughter, you look at everybody else is kind of dressed for, like summer or, warmer weather, and she's covered up, which could be no big deal. I mean, Nick is wearing long sleeves too. It could be no big deal. The weird thing that she says to Liza, when she's out and she's talking with Susan, there's kind of like a weird connection between her and Susan. Like there's like, why didn't she just like walk out there like, oh, boom, crack her in the head? There's like this odd thing, almost like she's looking at herself. She sees herself in Susan. And the other thing is because I think it would be a huge shock if all the attention and everything is pointing towards Griselda, right? Basically, she's going to end up being, and that'll be the sympathy zombie, right? And the husband would have to put her down. It's going to be this horrible tearjerker, episode. The end of episode 5. But what if it's Madison who's actually infected? And because her death has, first of all, massive shock because she's supposed to be like the female Rick Grimes, right? That's what we're all kind of painting her to be. But what a shock that would be for Nick, right? Certainly, it would knock, it would bring Alicia out of this walking coma she's in. So
that's going to be the 3rd series. Fear the walking coma.
So my guess, this is my offbeat. This is way out there. Madison's infected.
Okay, that is pretty. That is deep, brother. That you dove into the deep end of the pool on that one. I think you're out on your own on that one. But I'm going to actually contribute something that will add to that theory. When I didn't think of it until you said this theory, when she talks to the soldier, he turns around to her and very aggressively is like, did you come in contact? Did you get sprayed? Have you had any exposure to the blood or anything like that? And she hesitates, and then she says no. And of course, we know, she had that one-on-one battle with the principal. So that could be.
Well, and Calvin, the drug dealer.
And Calvin, the drug dealer. Yeah. Yeah. So that may be adding to, maybe she's trying to hide that or whatever. I don't think so. I think they're just playing with us on that. My read on why there was so much of a connection with her and Susan, and you said it perfectly. You said it was like she felt akin to her. And I think that Susan Zombie represents the monster that's inside of her with the alcoholism and the substance abuse and everything else that has been passed on to Nick, that has played some sort of role probably in her first marriage, and explains a lot of why she's so supportive and understanding of Nick. Getting him drugs to help wean him off. She seems like, she's been down this road before with him, but I think it's also I wouldn't say she's enabling him, but she maybe feels an affinity for him because she understands what he's going through. Mm-hmm. And, and then we see her drinking alone, and then we see her out there she's trying to kill the monster inside of her, that she's afraid it's going to come out as a result of all this. I don't know. That's how I interpreted that. The writer's kind of playing with the whole substance abuse and alcoholism and the internal monsters that we have, that these external zombies kind of bring to the surface, which I think we're going to see with Daniel. Here's a nice, innocent barber guy who's really probably got a pretty dark monster inside of him. Mm-hmm. But that's how I read that. But that's an interesting idea. I don't think for a lot of reasons, but mainly because I think she is going to be is planned to be the Rick Grimes of this series. And I think at this point, her or Nick, it has to be her or Nick, because Travis, he ain't going to do it. In my opinion, he may be a great actor, but the character, the way they're writing it, I couldn't see him transform.
Unless he's got a massive transformation in the
yeah,
next
he
three
would have to
episodes.
go through a pretty massive transformation, you know. And you know, I guess if you look at Rick in the main series and the regular series, you know, that's a good example of how much a character can transform. You know.
All right, so what are your beds?
Some of what you already hit. I thought there was some predictability. That's it, when I can sit and watch a show and be like, okay, she just said they're good people. He's going to turn around and he's going to say the good people are the ones that die first,
Yeah.
and that's what he turns around and says. Now, then I'm not enjoying that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there was a couple of things like that. You know, oh, we dropped the shells. You know, boom, don't go back. Boom, she goes back.
Right.
You know, him saying that. You know, so to me, it's got a little bit, you know, predictable in some points, and that's, you know, that's just I don't want to say sloppy writing, but you know, just I think that may be because of the rush to get so much in so few episodes. You know, things like the electric going on and off in the house, you know, conveniently when it's going to make things more tense. Granted, it made it more tense,
Yeah.
but
it worked.
You know, if the electric grid goes down, it goes down. You know, you don't, you know, or if a tree gets knocked over and the power goes out because a car ran into it, there's no trucks out there doing repairs.
Mm-hmm.
That's out for a long time, you know. So for coming on and off, I wasn't buying that. It was just kind of a tactic they were using. I agree. Even though I liked the Monopoly scene for what it did to build some character to these characters and to flesh out some things, I didn't buy you'd be sitting there doing Monopoly in the middle of the apocalypse. People outside trying to get in that are monsters. Are you kidding me? I'd be packing like you said. I'd be sitting at the door with guns or knives or whatever. The Garden of Death. What the hell was that?
What was that? Yeah.
What the hell was the Garden of Death? I've never seen a garden like that in my life.
Someone on one of the websites, one of the review sites, they called Susan the Minotaur because that was like the labyrinth. I thought that was awesome.
It's so true. Oh my God. I'm glad, like you are, that the Army, or at least it's not really the Army, but the National Guard has come into the scene, and I think that's important. It's important that we see how that fell apart as well as everything else, because that's a big part of maintaining stability. I'm glad to see it happening. I thought this introduction was just not great. It was too opportunistic in terms of when it happened.
Yeah.
You know, that they would shoot the head and then you turn around and there's all of a sudden 1 million army men they never saw coming, you know, and
they're stealth vehicles.
Oh, stealth. Got it. So, yeah, I wasn't buying that. And if they had done what we just talked about, then it might have at least been better, you know. That, you know, if they'd shot her and then he was bitten and then they shot him and then everybody was like, holy crap, you know, these guys aren't necessarily going to save us.
Right.
But so those were my bads. What were your uglies?
Well, I think we're probably going to agree on the ugly. There really is only one massive ugly, and it's an ugly bad.
Oh,
and
boy.
it is.
We are not going to agree.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
It is running out and leaving the door wide open as everybody goes next door to go get the gun. You've got all of this stuff going on.
And it's, again, the predictability, just so that they could have the zombie go in the house and then have Travis finally come home and be in jeopardy going into the house. I mean, I agree. It was sloppy writing. I agree. No, my ugly was good ugly, and it was the two things, the hospital sequence. I agree with everything, every criticism you had about, you know, the way that they were reacting and things. It just seemed, I think they were supposed to be stunned. But to me, I agree. It was kind of flat, but that sequence felt to me like steady cam shot. What's that called? You know, kind of like reality footage. What the hell is that called? When they shoot like Blair Witch.
The GoPro Handycam.
Yeah, the Handycam kind of thing. It was like real life. It was
found footage.
Yeah, it was like found footage. That's what it felt like to me. And it was really scary. And the idea that this institution of a hospital where you go for safety, for security, for help, for aid was in total chaos. And as our listener pointed out, the zombies are coming out and their army's shooting in. Uh, to me, that was Tobias's prediction coming to fruition. How quickly the whole infrastructure was going to crash. And I thought that was very, very terrifying. And then right on top of that, they look out and see all the power going out across LA, except at their house where it's going on and off, on and off, on and off. But and I loved how it was shot, where you were seeing it, but then it was reflected in the windshield, and you're seeing it pop out in the windshield, and it was like Travis was watching it, and we were watching him watch it as it popped, and we got to see it as it went out in the windshield. And it was kind of like, the windshield maybe representative, kind of a window into the future, and the future is dark, and it is apocalyptic, and it is without the conveniences of a hospital or electricity, and it's going to be ugly. And I thought that was, I liked that shot. So that was my ugly.
All right. So we got an email from Christine, and she gave us her first time writing in. I've been listening for a while now, but this is my first time writing in. What I really love about your podcast is that you go more in depth than some other ones out there, discussing themes and possible symbolism, etc. I know I can always count on biters to thoroughly review an episode with honest thoughts that helps me get through the week until the next episode airs. Thank you very much. We certainly
Thank you, Christine.
appreciate those comments. That being said, I have a few thoughts about Fear the Walking Dead I wanted to share with you. She said the pacing of this episode. They could have easily fled to the desert and been right where the first show started already. The tension ramped up this week, and I enjoyed the horror movie vibe with the lights flickering and sneaking into the neighbors for weapons. And then Nick finally telling Alicia what is going on. I'm glad he was the first to acknowledge that these people are not sick, that they're dead. So my theory on and Christine, I think those are all valid points. My theory on Nick is that Nick is he's first of all, he's the smartest guy on the show. But he's also us. He's that voice of the ghost of future of
he's
Christmas
Scrooge.
Future. Yes,
he's Scrooge. He's screwed, is what he is.
Yeah, he is. No, but he's like the guy. He knows what we know, and somehow it's almost like we're filtered through him, so he's able to temper the scenes that go on. And I think that's what makes him first of all, it's a great actor handling the role, but I think that's what makes his character so important to the show. Christine's bads were Travis. He's seen several walkers at this point. He's told his ex last episode that people aren't staying dead. This week he wouldn't let Maddie shoot the walker in the house, and he wouldn't let Maddie kill Walker Susan. Come on. Totally agree with that. They're still keeping Alicia in the dark. No wonder she's been acting like a brat. Also, asking people if they were bit. Have they seen anyone turn from a bite? This is actually a good point. Calvin got shot. Who knows what happened to Gloria, the principal, the homeless man, or the neighbor? Matt got bit and he's sick, but they didn't see him. Turn. A cop at the riot was bit, but we didn't see him turn either. Calvin tried to bite them, but it didn't work. How do they know a bite is deadly? The show needs to decide if they want these characters to be slow learners or fast ones. As Carol would tell them, you can't have it both ways, sunshine. And then number 4 on her bad was close your damn doors in all caps.
Amen.
Her ugly was driving past the hospital. It was just enough to give me that oh crap feeling and let me think about all the ways things could have gone down and could picture my reaction if I was driving past and I had no idea what was happening. Talk about chills. This is what they all need more of. I want to see things escalating in situations I could see myself in. Follow that with seeing all the lights in LA go out. It was a great moment. Oh, also my thoughts on the title, The Dog. In the first episode, Travis was talking about Jack London. He said the dog is nature, and nature always wins, as Kirk, you just said. I think this episode was to show us how nature, walkers, was winning against society. Daniel Salazar said in this week's episode something like, "It's already too late," when he saw the military drawing X's on houses. Not sure if he knows how true those words are. She gives the episode 3.95 wide open doors. Thank you for reading. If you made it this far, keep up with the great podcast. I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Somewhere between Wednesday and Sunday night.
Well, let's see. It's already Wednesday, so it's not going to be Wednesday. And it'll probably take Rob a day to get this edited.
Well, we laugh because it's
Friday.
True.
My guess is Friday. Well, there was a number of posts on Facebook in regards to this episode, as well as some other things. So we're gonna read some of those. Diane Maythorne wrote, "They have a young Johnny Depp and a young Lou Diamond Phillips."
That's right.
Amen. I think she's absolutely right on that one. Nikki Campbell wrote, "I really like it. It had me tense and nervous throughout. My only complaint is, quote, Nick, please change out of those old man clothes." And he's still got a weird walk.
Yeah.
I assume that's because he's still hurt from having been hit by a car. It's only 2 days ago or something. So
yeah, he's very Charlie Chaplin in his.
Yeah, a little bit. Maybe he's bit. Nikki also wrote in, said Travis is going to be a liability. It was a great episode, but if he doesn't man up soon, he's going to be a liability. I like Danielle. He is no joke. I would agree with that. You want to pick up with Abby Q?
Abby Q said, "I think they killed the momentum it had. I was hyped for the show. I watched episode 3 just to watch it. This latest one was not that great. I can go in and destroy this show from scene to scene, but I'm going to look at the bright side. It's a new show, probably won't go over 3 seasons. It's no Walking Dead, and Frank D continues to kill it every scene he's in." That's true. That he's great. Underutilized, I thought, this episode, but
yeah, I agree.
We've seen it for maybe 1.5 episodes. Where he had the great line about, well, they're dead, and we already said about how I think he's channeling the viewer's knowledge, but we got to get more out of him than just being the junkie on being cold turkey right now. We need to see a little bit more. He's got more as a character to lend to the show, and I want to see more of that.
Yeah, well, it doesn't. I guess it takes a while to go through detoxing. So they probably worried that if they did that too fast, then people would be all critical of that.
It is tough too. I mean, we're halfway through this. We got 3 episodes to go. So
yeah, that's why I think Abby, I understand your issues. I think it's probably going to go more than 3 seasons. I think that the show will only get better. They're getting a lot right to begin with, even though there's some things that are wrong. Think about how much was wrong in the first 2 seasons of the main show. It wasn't really till the 3rd season that they really started to get the guns blaring and they kind of getting the machine, cleaned up and working right. They may have to go through, a showrunner change or something. Who knows? But I think it'll probably last more than 3 seasons. Diane Maythorne.
They'll bring back Frank Darabont.
Yeah, there we go. I doubt that. Did you see that on the credits? I think he still gets credit on the main show.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, I don't remember if I saw him on this one, but the thing that did stand out in my mind on this one is that the 2 artists, is it 2 art? Yeah, both artists get along with Kirkman. So it's
Adlard,
and then the Tony Moore. Is it Moore?
Oh yeah, Tony Moore. Yeah,
he's the original artist on the first 6 issues or something, and they've always gotten credit on the main show. I thought that they may not get credit on this show because it's still connected to the world they are. So that's kind of interesting. Good for them. Diane Maythorne wrote, "I will say I was really lukewarm about episode 1. I most likely will not go back and watch it repeatedly as I've done with the original Walking Dead pilot. That said, I was sucked in by episode 2, and I'm going to continue to give it my time. Hell, I even heard an interview on Doctor to the Dead. Yes, another podcast, but still not as good as Biters.
And really, what is?
That's right. That is making me rethink watching Z Nation.
Really?
I don't watch Z Nation, but you want to read Gary's?
Diane, you have to put up a really compelling argument to get me to watch Z Nation because
everything I've heard is just schlock.
I saw the pilot and I couldn't survive 35 minutes. So, all right, Gary, things Hollywood does during a zombie apocalypse that you would not do in real life. I feel like this is like a Letterman skit. Number 10. All right. Number 1, leave a sliding glass door open after letting in a neighbor's bloody German Shepherd. True. 2A, hey, let's play a game of Monopoly. 2B, it's amazing how well a junkie can play Monopoly when he's barely getting by on prescription drugs that have him teetering on the edge of withdrawals. Number 3, protect your almost adult children, Alicia, by not telling them what's going on. Granted, they should be able to see what is going on is far from normal.
Yeah, really.
Number 4, why turn on the TV or radio to be informed of the current situation when you can play a board game? C2A and 2B.
So true.
I mean, and in an episode, was it episode 1 where you had the kids crowded around their phones looking at YouTube,
right,
or the videos. Number 5.
Then the mother identifies where Chris is by seeing a random shot of a riot. Oh, there's where Chris is.
Yeah. Number 5, maintaining enough concentration to put out the trash the following morning of the zombie apocalypse. Number 6, turn every light on in the house and be sure to shine those flashlights through your windows in the event you're not attracting enough attention.
That drove me nuts.
All kidding aside, it was an okay episode. Zombie Kill of the Week was taking out the neighbor with a shotgun blast to the face and head. We also got one last look at the deflated and bloody bounce and bite on the front lawn of the people that live across the street from Maddie and Travis. Daniel looks like he's going to be a pretty strong character. Maybe Daniel experienced some sort of civil unrest in a South American country when he was younger. Yeah, I think everything points to El Salvador Civil War. And then unless they get an army medic to look at his wife's foot, her days are numbered before she turns. I gave this episode 3.5 white pickup trucks.
It's interesting because they had I know you think she's a red herring, the mother, but what the mother might do is provide them with the knowledge that everybody has it, and when you die, you come back, because she may die from her injury, which was unrelated to being exposed to any infected zombie.
She wasn't bit, right?
Right. She wasn't bit. She didn't have blood put on her. She didn't, she hasn't been in contact with a zombie. And yet when she dies, she comes back as a zombie. Then there's the realization,
I don't know, because
maybe not.
I think that makes sense, but I also think that so far through 3 episodes, I don't think we've got aside from Nick, I don't think we have very observant people who are making connections. So I don't think that they're gonna. Daniel will sit there and kind of figure it out, but I don't think anybody else will.
Maybe your Madison theory about her being bit. Maybe
I might be right.
No, but maybe. Oh. Well, you might be, but maybe what she's going to end up having some immunity to it, and she's going to turn blue, and then she's going to get these blades, and she's going to become this female zombie warrior.
Yes. Yes.
And then they're going to change the show to Fear the Walking Dead Zombie Girl. Martha from Southgate. Martha Southgate. Sorry, Rob and I. This is Rob is the editor or producer for our show.
Rob is the man who makes all of this magic happen for you.
That's right. He is the father of biters. Rob and I are really enjoying the show. Totally different than The Walking Dead, but that's okay. It's fascinating to see how quickly everything turned to chaos. Every time someone coughs in public now, I think it's starting.
That's true.
No, that's just winter.
I wonder if there are people who have I guess you'd call it like ZTSD, zombie traumatic stress disorder, like watching all this stuff. I'm surprised you don't have it. The amount of things that you watch that are zombies. Actually, no, I've seen you in public. You do.
That's right. The shakes, the twitches. I got
Holy
it
cow!
all. That's
If anybody sees Kirk at a convention, like if you've never even met him before, just cough within 5 feet of him and just watch.
well, no, you won't see me because I will be gone. After I spray you with Purell, I will have left the vicinity. Sarah Catherine Guest. I like the elements. It's well acted and it has the right pieces, but it just hasn't gelled for me yet. I can't tell you why. Some is the frustration of seeing them make such rookie mistakes. The element of the military is interesting, so I'll give it another shot. Still, most shows would kill to have those sliding ratings. That's true. Even though they slid, they're still tremendous ratings, right?
Yeah.
You want to read Tom's?
Oh, I read it. I read it at the beginning.
Oh, that's right.
His angry post.
We have another one from Laura Wilswink. Was wondering in episode 2 why Madison wasn't cluing Alicia into what was going on. I think in this episode I kind of realized that she didn't want her freaking out over her boyfriend and realizing he was probably dead, then going and doing something stupid. She already tried to go back to him once. I'm loving Mr. Salazar. He's obviously been through hell before, and I don't think he has much faith in the establishment saving them. Loved all the horror movie trope moments, the shuffling feet under the door, the dark garden trellis maze, the Garden of Death, view of the city as it fell into darkness. And for people who thought that Fear wasn't showing enough gore, I think half-headed Peter next fixed that. Glad I already had dinner. Yeah, that was pretty gruesome. I still say the best would have been if Susan just chomped right into her husband and took a big old glorious chunk out of his neck, and then got shot, and then the military took him out, and that would just have totally freaked people out.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have known where they stood now. Are they better off by themselves with zombies or with the army?
Actually, and that's the one. Here's the one thing that's been missing through 3 episodes so far, and it's right there in the title. Fear.
Yeah.
I get the whole, listen to what everybody talks about this show, the anxiety and the, people that are on the edge of their seats and things like that. Yeah, there's that, but there's no fear, and you don't really get that. And, maybe we're beating a dead horse here, but again, the whole military thing, you bring those guys in, again, sanctity, right? We talk about how the hospital, you go to the hospital because that's safe. Well,
right.
That's been taken away from you. Well, that's kind of scary in itself. The military, well, they're safe. They wear our uniform and they're our people. Right. But if they come in and they're just shooting people left and right, and you don't know what's going on, well, now they're not safe. Holy crap! I'm caught. I'm not safe anywhere I go. I got these things out here that are maybe dead. I'm not sure what's going on. I got the military. That really just amps up the fear, and I think that's one of the things.
I think that's where they're going to go, but I think they decided to wait and have it be an entire episode. I suspect the next episode that's going to be the basis for the episode. That they're going to have to come to terms with the fact that the military is not going to be a big help here. If anything, they may be a problem. Then that'll be episode 4.
Yeah,
and then we'll have like 2 more episodes till it ends.
Yeah.
Huh. Wonder what the cliffhanger is going to be.
I would say probably episode 6, because you leave it on something that
draws
you into
what it'll be. I wonder. I wonder if they'll get separated again or something. I thought when they peeled out in the cars, and then she turns. In some ways it's funny because she just does whatever she thinks she wants to do. I mean, like she says, I'm going to stay here with my kids while you go get your son, and then she leaves the both of them alone while she goes to the school.
Yeah.
Then now she's like, we're all leaving for the desert. Here we go. Oh nope, Madison's on her own. Yeah. It's like,
well, and I talked about it, I think, in the first episode, where I don't get her as an actress. I don't know if it's her as an actress or her as a character or something, but like I just don't. And I pin it on her as an actress because I've seen her in several roles, and I don't get her in a relationship with Cliff Curtis. If anything, it doesn't matter if you've got an ex-wife or whatever baggage you've got. Stuff is getting really weird out there, and there may be dead people come into life, or there was just some dude that I've known for a while just eating a dog in the front yard, and this stranger just shot his face off. I mean, you would think that it would bring two people like close together, and like
Right.
that's your anchor, right?
If
And
anything,
you get that from Travis. Like Travis is like he's almost like doting on her, or he's just really about her.
yeah, but I don't feel a connection with them. I felt connection with him and his ex-wife.
Oh, much more
When they
more
were
so.
at the sink and they have the discussion about her choosing to become a doctor, and that that she's figured out there's lots more that she could do in her life than she thought. And he said, yeah, I always believed that. And she said, no, you always said it, but now I know it for myself, and they just had this great, and then they have that line where, he says, I'm glad I got two wives in the house. But I thought their connection seemed sincere.
Their chemistry is much better.
Yeah,
than,
their chemistry is much
yeah.
better. I agree. But, that could also be Madison definitely has this dark side or this dark past with her ex-husband, with her own battles, obviously, with issues, whether they be alcoholism or what. And she's was obviously trying to get her life together. Maybe Travis this is a good guy. This is the kind of guy I should be with. This is the kind of guy that I would want to be with. But it isn't the guy that's really right for her. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, I don't know. Maybe they're going there, or maybe the two actors just don't have the chemistry yet, or the writers haven't found their niche for them.
Yeah. All right.
That's another episode of Biters.
That's all we got for this week.
That's it. So what's next week's episode called? Do we know?
Oh, I'm sure we should know it. And
is it the cat? We're just gonna go through the house pets. Then the finale is the goldfish and gerbils.
Let's see. No, next episode is Not Fade Away.
Not Fade Away.
And then, okay, so we've got Not Fade Away, and then episode 5 is called Cobalt, which was the working title, for the longest time. And then the last episode is The Good Man.
The Good Man.
Huh. So, think about that. Put your theories together. Write them down on cards, and
and mail them in.
All right. I think
go ahead. You gotta do the bylines. Where people can reach us.
Oh yeah. So no, you do it. You do it all the time.
Yeah, but I suck at it.
But they still contact us.
Yeah.
So you can find us.
They find us in spite of us ourselves.
You can find us on our Facebook page at Biters, the Walking Dead podcast, or we are. You can catch us on Twitter at Biters Podcast, all one word, or you can get Kirk at BatmanKM, or me at JMarsick. We love hearing from you guys, so go ahead.
What's the email? Biterspodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
Is that right?
And be sure to go to the Southgate Media Group website or the iTunes page for Southgate Media Group and download. If you've got a favorite show out there, I'm sure there is a podcast for it. So download it, listen to it, love it.
And don't forget to check out Z-Girl and the Four Tigers at zgirl.org, the comic book that Jeff and I co-create.
And the wicked awesome action figure that we've got, too, that you can order off our website. Yeah, that's about all we got. All right. One last thing is, and I'll say it again next week, in the next couple weeks, but if you're going to be in New York the weekend of
October 8th through the 11th. 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. Thursday, Friday, 11th. Saturday, and Sunday.
Come out to the Javits Center, to the New York Comic Con, and come find us at the Z-Girl booth, where we'll be, and come say hi. And Kirk will have a bunch of those tribute pieces that Kirk has done.
Yeah, the Walking Dead tribute art. I should have some prints of that, so if people want to pick some up.
That's where you do it.
All right.
Well, thank you,
everybody,
guys. For
we
listening.
will see you next week.
All right, take care.
All right, bye-bye.